Hello, my name is Marc from JazzGuitarLessons.net, and you're watching the Tune of the Month April 2016 webinar on Body and Soul. As usual, way too early for jazz, as I like to say. So it's 9 a.m. here, Eastern Time, in my hometown of Gatineau, Quebec. It's almost 16 degrees. Okay, enough for the Weather Channel now. Let's go on with what's going to happen in the next hour. We're going to cover stuff about Body and Soul, which is the Tune of the Month Club, the featured Tune of the Month for April 2016. Of course, you can be watching this from the course platform or from YouTube or from Google Hangout. The best place to ask questions, if you are interested or commenting, is from the YouTube page, which I'm going to turn up here. So I'm going to say something in the comments. So please ask your questions here, and I will monitor this this chat throughout the webinar today live. If you're watching this later on the course platform, so you can always add a comment at the bottom of this video, and I monitor those comments regularly. So I see people starting to join in the webinar. Thank you and welcome. Just to break the ice, because it's still early, you hear I have my morning voice. You know, it's a webinar. I want to get it out of the way early in the morning, but I have to, you know, we're jazz musicians, so 9 a.m. is not always the best time to play chords and solos, but hey, c'est la vie. Icebreaker. Define optimism. A trombone player with a pager. So that was my one last one for the road. Once there was this jazz guitarist who won the lottery, so he won the million, right? So in the media, he was interviewed, and we're asked, well, what are you going to do with the money now that you have $1 million, right? And he said, oh, you know, I'm just going to keep playing gigs until the money runs out. To do jazz musicians and money. All right, so Tune of the Month. Before I jump into the material for Body and Soul, I'm going to tell you that what is the Tune of the Month? Well, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet of information on one song on a different standard every month. So we started with All the Things You Are, Summertime, that was last summer, right? And we covered a new different song every month with a chord melody, a compensating, a written out solo, along with instructions. And each and every month you get the PDFs with tabs, backing tracks, the video where I play this stuff, and the videos where I explain this stuff. So that's what the Tune of the Month Club is all about. Warning and words of wisdom: you are not expected, and you should not cover all the materials in every month. So say this month you have Body and Soul. It's always my recommendation that you pick the part that is your favorite to say, I want to work on the solo this month, and you work on it. The good part is it's like a paper magazine. You subscribe to it, and you keep your copy forever. So your Body and Soul, it's yours. You can come back to it in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years. It will always be yours. So that's a great point. And that's what Tune of the Month Club is all about. Body and Soul this month is probably the easiest Tune of the Month Club issue. It's the easiest issue so far, and I made it so because Body and Soul is a great song because it covers great harmonic, common things that people do in harmony. So if you work a lot on Body and Soul, you will understand a lot of other things about other standards, because the chord progressions come around in a nice, typical fashion. The song is in D flat major. It's kind of a hard key for guitarists. I have a comment from Jefferson. Hola. Thanks for being here. And gracias for being here. So yes, this whole thing, you play in D flat major, then you go to the bridge of Body and Soul, and it's in D major. So you get a change of key, a half step up. You see common 2 5s. You see we're going to 3, then passing diminished, and this and that. And we'll take a moment now as a first step to analyze the song, so you see why it is so typical and so cliche of a chord progression in a jazz standard. So that's why I made Body and Soul really easy. So the chord melody is easy to execute, simple chord shapes that are not super difficult to finger, and you can always improve upon it. If it's too easy, you can always add your own pieces like Lego. You build building blocks, right? Another thing is this song was made very famous in the 30s, and most famous, the thing that put this song on the map, so to speak, was Coleman Hawkins' version, 1939, I think. So he just launched into soloing on this form. He didn't even play the melody. It was on vinyl, at this, of course, not on CD, and it was revolutionary. So it was a great milestone for jazz improvisation on that song. So Coleman Hawkins is this sax player, and he's kind of a pre-bebop era jazz improviser. So he played in swing bands and stuff like that. It's a really important figure in jazz. And the way he played that made other people be inspired to pick up this tune, and people kept playing this tune, such as John Coltrane, Dexter Gordon, had great versions by these two players. In fact, I do a little tip of the hat to Coltrane at the end of the comping study on this Tune of the Month material. So let's get going. Let me know if you have any questions, and maybe in the middle, if everybody's cool, I'm gonna make other jazz musicians jokes, such as drummers jokes. They're always the best. A little sip of water. All right, first step, let's look at the lead sheet. So if you're a member of the Tune of the Month, you have your lead sheet PDF. I just want to show you, explain to you what the chord progression is all about and how it works. Let's look at the first bar. So the first bar has an E minor 7 chord. Now don't rely on this E minor 7 chord to tell you what key it is in. You look at the key signature with 5 flats and you know it's in D flat major. A half step up from your good old cowboy C. Right? So E flat minor 7 is the 2 chord if you analyze it in Roman numerals. And the first bar goes 2, then B flat 7, and you might ask yourself, well, what's the B flat 7 has to do with D flat major? It's not in the same key. So here's the thing: E flat minor 7 is 2, B flat 7 is the 5 of 2. So it's what we call a secondary dominant. All right. So you have a secondary dominant, then you go back to E flat 7, and the the D7 chord in bar 2 here, I'll play D9, is in fact a tritone substitute for A flat. And A flat is the 5 of D flat major. So that's where you hear D flat major for the first time in bar 3. So it goes like this. Or A flat, D flat major. So you see, we did all this to go back to D flat major. So it's a really nice way to play. Not on the 1 right away, not even a 2-5-1, not even anything. It's just, it starts on the 2 and it uses the 2. And what happens after in bar 3, we have 1 major, and we have 4, which is your G flat 7. People say, hey, it's kind of a weird chord to go to G flat 7, but if you were playing blues in E, you would go to the A7 in bar 5. It's just a 4 chord. So if you're playing blues, you go to 4. So that's 1, that's 4. Total bluesiness, total really cool bluesiness. Then the next chord, F minor 7, is 3. It's 3 is always considered a great substitute for 1 because it shares a lot of the same notes. So you have 1 here, 1, 2, 3, 3. That's your F minor 7. 3 flat 3. This is your E7. So in fact, it's an F flat diminished 7 in bar 4. So you see, it's just 3 flat 3 2 in bar 5. We're back to 2. Then walking bass, descending bass line. Then C minor 7 flat 5 to F7. That's a 2-5 going to B flat minor. So it's a 2-5 of 6. So you see already we have these other secondary dominant principles, and bar 7 and 8 are kind of a back cycling towards a 1. So that's what the A sections are all about. So you find this in the first 8, next 8 bars, and the last 8 bars of the pieces. It's the exact same form. So it's really useful because after you run these first 8 bars, you get 75% of the harmonic information and melodic information in the song. It's the same melody. Good. Now let's look at the bridge a little bit. The bridge goes to a D major chord, so like, or however you want to play. And the D major chord is approached, or should be approached, by an A7 chord in the prior bar. That's what I did in the chord melody. So you play an A7 or an A13. So once again, this is secondary dominant talking. This is, we're going to D. Let's use the 5 of D to help us get there. So I'm just going to start from the D major and analyze the chords quickly, then we'll get to the chord melody and such. So D major, E minor, it's the 2, D major over an F, so it's kind of a 3 chord, then 4 minor 7, then back cycling, so 3, 6, 2, 5, 1. So you see there's a lot of back cycling in that tune. Then we kind of modulate to a D minor chord, but it's not a D minor as in we're establishing D minor as the 1. D minor is only a 2. So we can get back to C major for no apparent reason. So you see we're going to D minor 7, G7, C major 7, and we're doing this immediately after having been in the zone of D major for a while. So we're here, and then we go, it's going to sadden or lowers the tension level, darkens everything, right? Then G7 to C major. Then we have 5 bars of the bridge done. Then C major 7, flat 3, passing diminished once again, like they used to do in 1932. And then D minor 7, G7, C2, 5 to C. There's just this chromatic pass at the last bar of the bridge, and you've guessed it, the B flat 7 goes to be the 5 of E flat major 7, E flat minor 7, sorry. So you see everything is linked together as far as harmony. There's no random chord, there's no just, oh, you know, I'm going to put the C7 there. It's all related, and it's all done in order to support the flow of the melody. Basically, we didn't even speak about the melody, but it's just, and the beauty of it is you could have used different chords to harmonize it. This a nice challenge in reharmonization if you feel you're up to it. Try to find other chords that work, because the melody can accommodate different chords. As funny as it may seem, it's a nice exercise I used to do on stage, is just find different chords, find different ways to use the melody, or the other way around, find a different melody without changing the chords. That would be what we call a contrafact. They used to do that a lot in bebop. A sip of water, take your question. And I've Nifinilo Sava from Montreal saying that I'm gorgeous. I just feel like pulling out John Lithgow line from Third Rock from the Sun. Sorry about that. Well, let's go to the chord melody. If you have any questions in the meanwhile, please ask them on the YouTube page. Chord melody. Yes, comments before we get started. The first 2 8 bars are using the same exact chord melody, all right? And the last 8 bars can be used as the same first 8 bars, but the last 8 bars I made a little different, and then they are on a separate page also. They're a bit more modern, more complicated chords, but this is just for more intermediate and advanced players. You have a chance to say, oh, that would be another way to do the same thing, kind of, all right? So let's start by analyzing this chord melody. First bar, E flat minor 7, of course, and I use a shell voicing, so 1, 3, 7. I'm not using this because I want the melody on top to be. So one of the things you can learn by playing this chord melody is the art of sustaining notes at the bottom. See, this part does not move. It does not move from here. So you can always play. I didn't really do that in the videos for the course, but you can already play with the attack. Can you delay the attack or anticipate the attack of the chord? That's all together, or you could be doing. Strike the B flat 7 chord before, after. Now let's analyze this chord, this one. It looks like a D7 diminished, but if you analyze all the notes as far as harmony on the B flat 7 chord, what it is D7, D7 diminished 7 chord. It's 3, 5, flat 7, and flat 9 of B flat. So that's why we're allowed to use a D7 chord, and we're allowed to use any of the chords that are symmetrical. So D7, B7, D, F, A flat. They all contain the same 4 notes because of the chord is symmetrical. So this one happens to have a melody on top, so it's really practical. Sorry. Bar 1, then bar 2. This is your typical E flat minor 9. Don't forget to use your 3rd finger to cover the top 3 notes. Then going to a D9, which is once again a tritone sub for A flat 7. Then we're going to a D flat 6/9. I like this chord a lot. Like this. I like this chord. So what I do is I strike the bottom part, same as bar 1. So the D flat 6/9 could have been played here, but I found it more helpful to play it on the 2nd string so the melody is closer with my pinky, because I need to hold something down at the bottom. Here. G flat 7, sharp 11. So you hear it's a plain G flat 7 bar. Just this guy here. But I use what we could call a flat 5. It's a sharp 11, in fact. And then if you bar well, you have your other melody note on top, no problem there. Then F minor 7, which is an inversion of F minor 7. If you know your inversions on the top string, that's all F minor 7. If you don't know this stuff, there's a new video on the blog. I think it came out today. It's called the Drop 2 Challenge. It doesn't cover F minor 7, but it covers all 4 inversions of all diatonic chords in C major. And my challenge to you is, if you're a beginner or even an intermediate player, there's 28 voicings, and I'm telling you, take 28 days, learn them all. You're gonna love this, and it's going to be so useful in copying in chord melody. So resuming in bar 4, F minor 7. The 7th is on top. If you bar well, it's not one of my favorite voicings because of that. It sounds weird, but at least it's only in passing. Diminished with an extension. So this is your diminished chord. You take the melody note here. So once again, an example of holding down the bottom while the top note moves. Sorry. Then we're going to splash an E minor 7 chord, even if there is no melody on beat 1, just to establish the harmony. Right? We went F minor 7. So to establish the F, E flat. Establish the finality, then the nice triplet run. Right, that's how I did it. So this is probably the trickiest part of the first 8 bars, which is getting this. So work on this a lot in isolated fashion. This is an E minor 7, this is still E minor 7, this is E minor 7 inversion, this is also another inversion. Well, this is root. So it's the same voicing as we started with, except the 3rd is on top here. We doubled the 3rd. So from here to here, E minor 7 still, all the way to E minor 7. Then lone note here, B flat, going to C minor 11. I wish we could play the flat 5 here, like, or have like, if I had Ted Green fingers, maybe I could do something. I can't do that, or I can't do it fast enough so it makes sense anyway. So C minor 11, and we would like to have the flat 5, but we can't. We don't have enough fingers, basically. And then we're going to another. Oh no, that's not how I did it, right? I did like this, sorry. I'm reading the chord melody at the same time. Sometimes I'm confused as to which version of my chord melody I'm working on. So, yes, you got it. This is the C minor 11. So this is a C minor 7 flat 5 here, to which we took the top note and made it here. So it's good we have root, flat 5 to 7, so we're covered. And then it's going to this, which is an F7 flat 9, so that's a root here. Same principle as we talked about in the second chord of the first bar, which is this is a diminished chord, but you can analyze it as being 5, flat 9, third, and flat 7 of an F7 chord. And you could be using any of those. But in fact, this one holds the melody. So once again, bar 5. Then we're only lacking this last part. Nothing really fancy. B flat minor 7, that's bar 7. B flat minor 7, root 7, third. Melody going up, E minor 7 with an 11 extension here. Then A flat 13 without the root, just the top 4 string. Melody moving, flat 13 or sharp 5. That's a melody note. Going to a good old B flat 6. Then we play a B flat 7, flat 9 to get us back to the E flat minor 7. I'm going to take a sip of water and take your questions. I'm going to look at, if anything, Jefferson. Okay, I don't really speak Spanish, but I'm assuming you're asking the name of the chords. I'm gonna do a search for and translate what you said to English or French. I speak French. The name of the chords, yes, okay. Yeah, that's exactly. If you could be more specific in your question, Jefferson, I'm running this with, of course, the help of the chord melody that's written. So all the chord names are written on top of the chart, and what I'm doing in this webinar is really making sure that you have to make sure that you have as much information as possible outside of the paper. So if you are not a member of the Tune of the Month Club, that's really where I'm sorry, that's really where you will get all this information. In fact, let me put the link here. It's Jazz Guitar Store or /courses/Tune of the Month or Tune of the Month. I'm going to find the link and put it there. It will be kind of difficult to to take this webinar without having the sheet and looking at the information. That, you know, we should be looking at the same sheet is what I'm saying. So if you can gladly follow this link, it will take you to where you can enroll and look at the PDFs. You can also just get Body and Soul on its own. You don't need to become a member of the Tune of the Month Club. Sorry, if you just want to pick the issue that is interesting. We have Autumn Leaves, Summertime, All the Things You Are, Shadow of Your Smile, Startled by Starlight. We have Blue and Green, Giant Steps, etc. All right. So continuing into the analysis of the chord melody, let's look at the B section, which is kind of challenging because the melody moves more than in the other sections. All right. Where are we? Okay. So before going to the bridge, we have this A7 chord with an open A, which I love. It goes like this. Right. And the D, the first D chord has an A note on top here. And the A note, we could have played a D major triad. But it's kind of boring, kind of cliche, it's kind of vanilla. So I decided to go have a second here. So it's a second and a fourth, which sounds great, I find. And then the melody is simply played. Da, da, da. So you kind of hold it for however long you can, and then you have to let it go to play the rest of the melody. That's fine. This chord is one of my favorite chords. So this is an E minor 9, if you want, with the 11th on top. So only the top 4 strings. So we hit the melody note twice and then go for that open string. I'm like, look, we have an E note the guitar is tuned in E, we should really take advantage of it, right? So we go. Then we're going to that inversion that we discussed. This is kind of an F sharp minor 7, but it's not. It's really D major. Well, you know this guy, D major, right? With an F sharp in the bass. So it's a first inversion of the D major chord, and that's how I approached it, to have the D note on top, play it like this. So it's still, we have the ninth here of the, so the same here. It's an E note that we have on the D major chord. So you hold this at however long you can. The G minor 9. This is a, so G minor 9, the C9 in the chart, which is the second bar of the B section. It looks like, if you would look at it, you'd say, hey, this is E minor 7 flat 5. It is actually. But because we have this implicit root, because it's G minor 7 to C7, then we hear this as a C7, and we don't hear it as an E minor 7 flat 5. We hear it as the C7. And so the fun part is, this is 3rd, 7th of C. This is 9th, and this is 13th. So it's a really cool 9-13 voicing for G minor, for C7. That fits the melody perfectly. So once again, C, and even there we go to accommodate the melody, and this is your full-blown E minor 7 flat 5. That's disguised as a C7. Then we're going to F sharp minor 7, which is in an inversion which has the 7th at the bottom. So for you guys that are familiar with, sorry, here, I had the wrong chord. So for those of you guys that are familiar with inversions, this F sharp minor 7 in the 3rd bar of the bridge is nothing more than, so you know, if you play your root here, it's all like this. So this is it. And we transfer each note one string down. It's called string transference. So we have this, and to get the next chord, all we have to do is move the 2 notes, this one and this one. This is a B7 flat 9, so you recognize the diminished shape again. Then we go completely wild with another. So you see, this is complete, perfect voice leading, Joe Pass, if you will. And and then I go to the A7 that was used to go to the B section. So it's the A7 that we found in bar 8, or the 8th bar of the 2nd repeat, basically, right? So once again, 3rd bar of the bridge. Sorry. Then to our good old D major that we started the bridge with in the first place. Now, for a little added color, dessert, A7 flat 13. This is not part of the song, this is just me adding it because we're going to a D minor 7. So it's the 2nd redominant once again. Love that sound because A7 is the 5 of D minor, right? D minor. So once again, this is similar to, right, the start of the song. We have D minor 7, and we have 1, 3, 7, flat 7, 1 on top. Strike the chord, then do. This can be quite challenging, but this is the basis of playing good chord melodies. Having your bottom held. I'm going for the next one here. Da, da, da. And then this is a G13. And people look at me like, no, it's not. String transference, once again, this is this. You know your G13, right? Take off the root, add this 9th on the top string. This you know. 3, 4, 5, 5. And it's here. Same notes. Love that chord. Sounds great. Then going to C major, which is this, an octave up, no magic, and E flat 7 diminished, so no surprise, this would have been the diminished chord, and and we just extend it, so the same as we did in bar 4, right? And we have a D minor 11 in bar 4, which is probably the most challenging chord ever so far. So it's easy, you just take an A minor 7 bar, like this A minor 7. Right? You take it up an octave, and you add an F note here. So you go D minor 7, then the G13 has a typo. I am sorry, I just realized this morning somebody sent me an email. Mike, if you're watching, thank you for spotting the typo. So the G13, here's a good fingering. You take a G7 like this, just a bar, which is 10, 12, 10, 12. You take the first 12, and instead of being 10, 12, 10, 12, it's 10, 14, 10, 12. If you can't reach that voicing, which is probably, it's likely, just use a regular G7. So it was me like being fancy. So I would use index, pinky, bar the index, and second finger. So I'll play you the second 4 bars, starting in bar 5 of the bridge. You ready? Sorry. C major. The last bar of the bridge has 3 dominant chords, in fact 4 chords, so C7, B7, B flat 7 played all in a row. So you go, this is just a shell, 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 medium, smart ass, with a D, B flat, so like this, then to accommodate the melody, it's B flat 7 with a flat 9 here, with a B flat on top. Good. Before, so that's it for the bridge. Let me know if you have any questions. Before I jump into the analysis of the last part of the chord melody, I will look at 5 questions and take a sip of water. So no more questions, that's fine. And I'm just talking to myself because no one's watching. Same as usual. I'm kidding, totally kidding. I know that there's a lot of people watching these things after the fact. Which is good because it seems it's helping to understand, grasp the materials, and people leave comments, etc. So great. Please do. Sip of water. And singer's joke. You ready for that? One more icebreaker. How do you know if a jazz singer is knocking at your door? She has lost the key, and she doesn't know when to come in. Think about this one for a while. It's a good one. All right, last 8 bars of the chord melody on Body and Soul. So the first chord is G flat major 13, believe it or not. How did I come up with this? Well, this is the 4 chord. If you look at the key of D flat major, if you harmonize the chords, here it is. That's G flat major. So D flat major 7, E minor, E flat minor 7, F minor 7, G flat major 7, or this. So this is the 4 chords. So instead of starting on 2 like this, I started on 4. That's it. Then I broke my nails. My nails are completely finished because of a cooking accident. And I tore them down, so I can't really play fingerstyle right now. So you can do it with the pick, but the second chord of the bar is A flat minor, 13 here. So it's kind of difficult to grasp if you have to pick it all, but at least I can analyze the theory for you guys. So this is a B flat chord to which we added the flat 9 here, which is kind of strange, but still. This is a B flat 7, sus 4 flat 9. The sus 4 is here, the flat 9 is here. Why am I using A flat minor 13? I don't know exactly, but I know it's a A flat minor is the 5 chord, but a 5 minor chord, which is kind of very soft in the context. And plus, we're operating from a standpoint of not even having the 1 chord. It's like the 2 chord is this guy. So if you use that instead, there's something to it that I felt like making it minor. There's no really good rationale. There's a C flat note in that chord. I'm like, this is what I want to hear there. Much more modern, much more challenging. So I won't spend too much time on it. Advanced players can kind of take a look at it and learn from it. If you're a beginning player, you are free to ignore these last 8 and use the first 8 again to finish the chord melody. So G flat major, E flat minor 13, B flat 7, so this guy, B flat 7 with a flat 9, 7, sus4, flat 9, and notice that upper structure triad and A flat triad. So we have this sound twice. And going to a quartal, E flat minor 11 to accommodate the melody. And doing one of my favorite things, tritone, use both the original and the tritone. And then here's, whoops, pick drop. We have mic drops and we have pick drops. So here's the thing I said, which is one of my favorites, is they strike the D flat chord low once and go up to play the melody. So I'll do it in one motion, you'll see what I mean. That part, I go. I love to do this. I do this in all songs. I always do that when I play. So I waited until the more advanced part of the chord melody to give you guys that hint, which is a great way to do it. You can always strike a chord, make it heard, and delay the melody a tiny bit. So D flat 6-9, D flat 6-9 again here. Going to G flat 13, flat 9. I couldn't plug in the flat 9, so it's just a G flat. Interesting because both melody notes are there. Then going to your F minor 7. So this is a new voicing I'm not super familiar with, but I found it in Ted Green's teaching. It's great because it has the 5, the 3rd, the 11th, and the 7th. So there's this, it's all open interval basically. So the melody is respected, quartal to this, you can't really analyze it, it just doesn't make sense, but it accompanies the melody. Then going to an E diminished with the same voicing as we use for the B flat 7 and the second bar, or the first bar, the first occurrence of the B flat 7 flat 9. And then E7 diminished 7 extension. So, right, so once again. Your breed of G flat 13 you might not be used to having, then this. Then relaxing a tiny bit with this. Finally, we have this quartal voicing that makes sense for E flat minor. And going through the motion of with all these more modern voicing. So the most challenging part of the chord melody is by far this part right there. Same Ted Green voicing, just plain 9s. Full quartal, all 11s, all 4ths, so E minor 11. Then there I use this chord to a tritone set, which is the B7 instead of the F7. And then the ending is pretty standard. So B flat minor here with the 7th, 3rd, string transfers E flat 7 with a 13. Then this guy, which is also got a Ted Greenish type of voice. How did I do that? Yeah. So to finish it off, I did 3 inversions of the D flat major. So you don't have to do this, of course, if you're still a beginner. Use the first 8 bars by all means. So last 2 bars. Something like this. With the 5th at the bottom. The 3rd at the bottom. The 3rd at the bottom. Then one of my favorites. This looks strangely like an F minor 7. But it's a D flat major. You need your finger to do this. That last voicing, if you're a fan of the Tune of the Month Club, you might have seen it appear over and over again. It's one of my favorite voicings. I don't think I've skipped a month so far without using that chord, because it's a major 7. It has the 9th and the root, and the 7th all top. It just sounds great. Sounds like first inversion. All right, so that's it. That's all for the chord melody. I tried to go as deep as I could without spending 2 hours on it. So we have only about 20 minutes to cover the solo and the comping study. I will first take a sip of water and see if you have any questions. L'amour ripère. I'm going to read this question in French. Bonjour, je ne comprends pas le dernier accord de l'avant-dernière ligne E7 diminished. Pourquoi le sol bémol, Thomas? So Thomas is asking about the last chord in the chord melody, I'm assuming. So page 2, 4th bar, E flat 7 with there's a G flat chord. So the 2. So I'm going back to page 2 of the chord melody now. There's an F minor 11 at the last bar of the first line. There's the F minor 11 orbital and here. And now Thomas is asking about this chord. So it's 10, 11, 11, 11. Love that chord. So here's the answer, Thomas. If I may do this in English so everybody will understand. So the chord is E diminished, right? E, and this would be a nice chord. So open string and 4, 5, 4, 5, 3, 5, right? This is symmetrical. You can do it. You know your diminished chord probably, right? So any of those notes can be raised by a whole step, by 2 frets, and still retain the basic information about the diminished 7 chord. So that's what I did. I took this, which is, I'm going to spell it out, so open E, then 10, 11, 9, 11, 10, 11, 9, 11. And I took the 9th here and raised it 2 frets. So this note became this note and the voicing became. The result, if you want to do it in analysis, it's an E diminished 7 chord with a natural 9th. And I do this a lot throughout the arrangements, like this one here. This is still E diminished. And this one. So you take any of the notes and you can raise them by whole step. So the results can be this, it can also be that, it can be that. At some point you denature the chord so much that you can't even recognize it, but that's the word for this in theory is diminished appoggiatura or something like that. I encourage you to look at Randy Vincent's 3 chord voicings or drop 2 voicings. Randy Vincent, he has these books on Shure Publishing. They're great, and they have red covers. And he goes through all these diminished inversions and extensions, etc. So I hope it answers your question. Let me know. Thank you. And we will jump into the comping study quickly. I don't have to go. I don't have to go over. Sorry, I'm reading the comments that we have on the YouTube page, and my friend Nilo said tattoo. That's what it is. That's what it is. Oh, and Thomas just answered. Okay, thank you. All clear. Thank you. Thank you. Nilo is asking a question earlier on and said, how would you manage having some moving lines in the middle range? Short answer, I don't. I don't do that. It's way too hard. But I guess if you build chord melodies intelligently and you have the previous month, tune of the month, the blue and green is a good example of this. You have lines that are high enough, so you have some of the notes in the middle register, then you can move, but that's still a little bit of what's happening with the blue and green body and soul now. Like, so if you leave out the melody, then maybe jump like, then it's going. It's pretty pedantic the way it moves. It only jumps when it has to, or it jumps before having a jump in the melody. So for instance, this, or it does that. But if you look at the bridge, it's pretty tame as far as moving lines. It's going where it should go, basically. So let me know if it answers the question. The best thing to do is, and this is what I keep repeating to people I work with. I teach privately on Skype, of course, and I go and say, just hold that chord down. You know, just play the melody note, hold the melody, then strike the chord. All right, or strike the chord, hold it down, and play the melody on top. It's like you're not obligated to play the melody and the chord at the same time. The melody happens. The chord may be here, the chord may be there, or there. Once you can do that really well, and I mean without missing a beat at any point, then you can start thinking about some of the clearest voice leading, or say you have any chord like A minor 7, and you're like, oh, just the third and sevenths moving to D7, right? But maybe at this point you have a melody you're comfortable with. So maybe you can add some other stuff, but in general, this middle voice moving thing is already there, but it might not be, as we say in French, étoffé. Like it might not be like full-fledged, full-blown. We keep it to a bare minimum because we're really limited here as compared to a piano player. So after you have it down for a really basic thing, then you start moving it around in maybe your own chord melody. So it would be a time where I'd say take any Tune in the Bun Club chord melody, any written chord melody, yours or in a book or from a transcription, and then see where you can add the moving lines in the middle range. And then again, you know, listen to Lenny Gross. Like he published a book. I have to admit, I never could find a printed copy of it, so I have a pirate version from the web. I just printed it out, and he starts with a blues in E, I think, and he just has these third and sevenths moving on the strings 4 and 3, and he's like, oh, just keep this going, and then he's adding melodies and melodies and melodies, and his counterpoint for the shell voicings at the bottom, they don't change much, but it's such a challenge to hold it down altogether while you improvise, say, a descending pentatonic line, but having to chunk, 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 chunk like Lenny Bro. This is a great place to start. By the way, Lenny Bro fans out there, before we run out of time, check out Cabin Fever. He's playing alone, acoustic 7-string, classical 7-string. First song is like Autumn Leaves, or his own version of Autumn Leaves. He plays Here's That Rainy Day. I think he plays Days of Wine and Roses. He plays Out of Nowhere. All these cliche songs, but it's Lenny Bro playing them, and it's really a beauty. You should check it out. Okay, comping study quickly. No biggie, no questions, I'm assuming, because they're all really typical voicings. I'll go through it quickly in maybe 5 minutes, and then we'll take a quick look at the solo. Then I'll let you go and see if you have any questions. Comping study, body and soul. E flat minor 9, no surprise. B flat 7 flat 9 same as chord melody. Inversion of B flat minor 7, so you have the 7th in the bass and the root on top. And E flat 13, which is disguised as a C minor 7 flat 5. So the chord is really that, but we play from the 3rd here. Then flat 13 to a D flat major chord. G flat 13, no surprise. F minor with the 9th, so F minor like this. E diminished 7, symmetrical. And here we have E flat minor 7 with the 11th on top. Followed by E flat minor 7 with the D flat at the bottom. So you have this interesting moving. The top and bottom voices are really nice. this is C minor 7 flat 5, F7 sharp 9, B flat minor 7, E flat minor 7, A flat 13, D flat 6, 2, B flat 7, and flat 9 to go back to the top. So the same circus. You repeat that because it's good, and feel free to add your own rhythms. I think I did in the Tune of the Month videos. I go like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry guys, I missed the beat. I was surprised as to my own chord choice. So you see, you can really vary the rhythms, and they're mostly all written in half notes. Repeat this a second time, then go to the B section where we have, once again, things that are inspired from the chord melody, so they're pretty similar. So D flat major, remove this note, so you have the ninth. 1, 2, 3, 4, one of my favorite open voicings there again. Your D chord here, I said with the bottom, not the F sharp, so I go for a D that is sus2, so open top string, and then going to a C7, 9 sus. Instead of doing G minor 7, C7, I do C sus. Same type of resolution that I did the Joe Pass thing. This speaks for itself. It's just right? You just do 3, 6, 2, 5 with passing bass notes. Fifth bar of the bridge, D minor 7 shell, plain shell, alternate root, G7 walking chord. So this is the Blue Monk. You know Blue Monk? I'm missing a chord there, but you get the idea, right? It's just walking chords to going towards your first inversion. So D minor 7, G7 walking chords with passing diminished. This is a typical thing also found in Randy Vincent. Going to C major 13, no problem. 6-9 with a 7th on top. E flat 7 diminished, going to D minor 7, 9, G9, G7 sharp 9, then you're descending dominance. Good, so the bridge is not too hard either, it's just, there's more movements, especially the Joe Pass part. And then page 2, we finish off with, it's not so modern either, it's not like the chord melody where the last 8 bars are like completely different. It's pretty similar. So here's last 8, still the same, but the melody will kind of take you up. Sorry, I'm all out of key. Sorry, let's do that again. Sorry, here. Then we'll get. It's the same as this, right? So instead of going down like the first 8 bars, that's the first 8. We did the opposite. We went the other way. So we go. E minor 9. Bass, which is really important. F7 altered, B minor 7, finally we land there, and we have a chord that kind of makes sense. So E minor 9, E flat minor 9, so minor 7, minor 9, A flat 13. Is there a flat 9? No. 9, basic 9. And the last chord is one of my favorites. So this is, I don't want to call it the chord of despair, but it's kind of difficult. So I'll leave it to you to see if you just want to play a B flat major, if you want to play this one. And we're back. So you could always use just the last chord for that last part instead of using both. This is probably the most challenging chord in the entire comping study. So that's it for the comping study. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll look. I have Rob Hendricks asking, and I will ask a question on camera. Hi, Mark. Can you put in diminished 6 chords for like between chords, or can you make a lessons on this topic for the future? And this out of Barry Harris. Of course, Rob, thank you. It's interesting that you're mentioning this because so far in the Tune of the Month Club, this Body and Soul one is one of the most typical songs to add these sort of things. And I kind of did, especially in my use of the diminished chords and the walking chords in the B section. You know, these things. I would recommend, however, while we're on the topic, the Barry Harris Harmonic Method for Guitar. It's a book that was written by one of his students. I forgot his name, but you have the reference on jazzguitarlessons.net website somewhere. You can just use the search box. There's so many pages, I kind of lost track. And in his book, the student takes Body and Soul and he builds a comping, so that might be a good place to start, because I'm by no means a specialist of using these chords. I know the concept, I kind of studied it, I practiced it, but for those of you who don't know, it's like taking a scale and saying there's 2 chords, you alternate between your 6th chord or your minor 6th chord and to your diminished. So it's like a 5-1, 5-1, 5-1 thing, and you have 8 chords, so you have 4 inversions, and you only need to learn basically 2 chords to have the 4 inversions. There are different fingerings, of course, but you can go through the scale. So whenever there's a minor chord, well, you can always alter between, say, the chord you have, which is, say, E minor 7, and B flat 7, which is, you see, this thing I did at some point at the chord melody, Rob, is very conducive of this type of playing. So maybe look at look how you could expand upon it with this concept, because what I'm doing, I'm really tied down to the melody. So if I were to explore in that vein, you get all these beautiful diminished passing tones and stuff. So here's a quick example if you want to tackle this. So E flat minor 9, D diminished, so acting as a B flat 7. This is E flat minor 7 inverted, so we have the 7th in the bass. Or you can call it G flat major 6 if you prefer. Then same thing here, the diminished and symmetrical. So once again, and back up, then up, another diminished, and this one. Or depending how you want to do it, you could use G flat major 7 on this one. I think this is, by the way, this is really, really cool. I should do more of this because it's really essentially a very hands-on, practical, and beautiful way of exploring chords on the guitar. So Rob, anyways, thank you. I hope it answers your question. The book by Barry's student is illuminating, to say the least. Like there's about 1,000 chords in the Body and Soul chord melody, or whatever arrangement he did. It's like 2 or 3 pages. It's like the page full of ink, and I'm sure you can get ideas. I have Jefferson saying in the style of Barry Harris. It's in the style of Barry Harris. What I'm talking about, it's but it's guitar Barry Harris, right? It will never be as interesting and developed as a piano Barry Harris, because we're kind of limited to, you know, when you try to play on more than 4 or 5 strings at the same time, it gets really muddy. So that's why we have heroes, you know, like Lenny Bro and Ed Bickert, that kind of minimized it and say, hey, let me play this. It sounds good at this point. And of course, piano players have their Bill Evans and their Herbie Hancocks, which they can play everything. They can hold the pedal down and just, so it's a different story. So Rob is saying, yes, thank you, Mark. Thanks to you, Rob. And greetings from the Netherlands. Wow, that's far. Greetings from Canada. And we have about a minute left to talk about the solo, so I'm going to do like usual. I would highly encourage you to take it really slowly, 1 bar at a time. The interesting part about the solo is that there's a lot of 16th notes, but you'll notice that I use a backing track that goes to this double time feel for the solo. So it's the same, the chords still pass at the same rate, so it still goes 1, but the feeling is this. The feeling of the band goes like this. So when I play 8 notes, when I play 16th notes like da de ba de bo ba tika 3, my point being, when I play 16th notes, they look intimidating on paper, but they're basically only as if I'm playing 8 notes, because of the way the band is playing the feel. So take it slow, and as always, try to see where I'm coming from with these ideas. There's always this motivic development idea. I don't play things because they are right on the scales or right on the arpeggio or the chord. I play things because, I'm sorry, I am developing on an idea, and I always like to use the vocabulary or the speech analogy. If you're giving a speech, you're talking about airplanes. I don't know if you're an airplane specialist or a physics specialist or I don't know, anything. You will stay on topic, but I'm sure that if you're improvising a speech, you're just talking about something that fascinates you. You don't think of every single word and every single sentence and every single grammar rule. You just think of the ideas. So that's what I want to bring out to you is I think of ideas when I write these things. It's kind of unnatural, to say the least, because I'm writing this down and it's akin to, well, writing a speech down in a certain way. It's extremely challenging for me to do this. And it's like, I say this with the tiger, it's like it's a tiger in a cage. A lot of times it's like, well, it's not really the natural habitat. It's like, but still, it's kind of how I think when I play on standards, or how I don't think. I have to stop and ask myself, would I actually play this? Yes, I would. Okay, I'm gonna write it down, right? So try to see the solo for developing on the original melody. And it's not very challenging. It's a little bit challenging, but I try to incorporate parts of the melody at all times, and even sometimes the melody ideas are buried inside of a line. So, of course, the technicality makes me able to take the melody and kind of expand it upon the solo with 8 notes and different rhythms and stuff. But the essentials are radically simpler than you would expect. It's not about scales, it's not about arpeggio. Of course, I know scales and I know arpeggio, so I can kind of develop and add around the sketch, which is the melody. But I'm not, I only do this because I know these words and sentences and idioms and stuff. I'm not doing this because for the sake of being harmonically right, because I've read a lot of these solos, by the way, no offense to other online teachers or some books I take. It's like, yes, this solo is on standards, on my Funny Valentine. Every chord is right, every scale, every arpeggio is right. There's nothing there, but there's no ideas. It's just, it's a speech about nothing. It doesn't speak. It doesn't, there's no continuity in the ideas. It's just notes. Like I would be sitting here and saying notes kind of in the general topic of airplanes, and they would not be related to each other really. Or sentences made sense, but if there were no point in my speech I was going to try to make, or no message. So that's why I'm saying the solo, it contains a message and it's very close to the original melody. That will be it for today's webinar. Thank you for attending. Thank you if you're watching this in a replay, you're not watching this live. Thank you for being part of this. The Tune of the Monk Club is, it's going to have its first birthday on July 1st. We have, oh my God, 2 months and a half to go. I can't believe it's still rolling. I did this as an experiment at first. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do a tune each month, and I'm gonna do it 2 months and see if people like it. You guys love it. Thank you for being here. Please ask questions or add comments. I'm always looking for, thank you, Rob. I'm always looking for testimonials, feedback, and stuff that I can put on the Tune of the Monks page, because there's hundreds of people that are members now, and I should take you guys' word and say what you think of it, how it helped you play, and actually put this information on the page. So if you have anything, please leave me in the comments or contact me by email, and we can add it to your page, to the page. We can add a little picture with your guitar. You can even add a video if you'd like, if you want to show off the stuff you've been working on. So thank you. I have another message from Thomas who's saying merci. Bonjour de Paris. So hello across the Atlantic in Paris. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. So we have a lot of people. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you once again. This has been Tune of the Month Club, April 2016 Body and Soul webinar. My name is Marc from jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher, and I'll see you soon on jazzguitarlessons.net. I'll see you soon on Jazz Guitar Store, where we have the Tune of the Month hosted, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.